On my wedding day, my sister walked up to the altar, grabbed the hem of my dress, and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "That dress would look much better on me." The silence that followed was deafening. But what she didn't know was that I had discovered something about her 3 days earlier, something that would turn that humiliation into the biggest mistake of her life. And when I revealed it in front of everyone, no one expected what came next. If you've ever experienced family betrayal, leave a comment sharing your story and subscribe to the channel, because this story is just beginning. But to understand how I got to that moment, I need to go back to the beginning. My name is Isabella Martins. I'm 31 years old and I'm an architect in Sao Paulo. Throughout my entire life, I lived in the shadow of my younger sister, Carolina. From an early age, she was the pretty one, the charismatic one, the one who got everything effortlessly. I was the responsible one, the studious one, the one nobody worried about because I would always manage on my own. We grew up in Campinas, in a house where every achievement of mine was met with a pat on the back, while anything Carolina did became a reason for celebration. When I was accepted into architecture at USP, my mother congratulated me and immediately went back to talking about Carolina's new boyfriend. When I graduated, the conversation at the celebratory lunch revolved around the fashion course Carolina had studied and already dropped out of. I learned early on that building my life meant doing it far away from them. I moved to Sao Paulo, forged my own path, and that's where I met Ricardo, a 34-year-old orthopedic surgeon with an easy smile and a calm demeanor that made me feel, for the first time, that I was enough. We dated for 4 years before he proposed during a trip to Campos do Jordão in front of a fireplace at a cozy inn. When I told my family, the reaction was lukewarm. My mother asked about the date. My father congratulated me over the phone. Carolina said she was happy for me, but her eyes had that look I knew well, the gleam of envy disguised as interest. The months of wedding planning were intense. I chose every detail carefully. A countryside hotel in the interior of Sao Paulo, an outdoor ceremony, white and lilac flowers. Everything simple but elegant. Carolina offered to be a bridesmaid, and I wanting to believe that we finally had a real sisterly relationship. But during the rehearsals, I began to notice something. Glances that lingered too long between her and Ricardo. Quiet laughter in conversations that stopped when I approached. Hands brushing when passing documents. Was I imagining things? Or was my sister crossing a line she shouldn't? 3 days before the wedding, everything was ready. Ricardo, some family members, and I were already staying at the hotel where the ceremony would take place. The place was beautiful, with vast gardens, a lake in the background, and that countryside scent that's supposed to calm any anxiety, or at least it should. That Thursday morning, Ricardo went into town to take care of something and left his phone charging in the room. I'm not the type to snoop through anyone's phone, but when the screen lit up with a message, the name that appeared froze me. Carol, with a heart next to it, my sister. I picked up the phone with trembling hands. The message read, "I can't wait to see her face when she finds out." I swiped up. What I saw in the previous conversations pulled the ground out from under my feet. Months of messages, intimate photos, whispered voice notes, secret meetings while I worked late at the office. And much worse was the tone of Carolina's messages. She wasn't just betraying me. She was proving something. Everything that belongs to Isabella should be mine. One message said, "She's always had our parents' approval, but I have what really matters. The attention, the desire, the life she thinks she built." I sat on the edge of the bed, phone still in hand, trying to breathe. Part of me wanted to scream, cancel everything, expose them right then and there. But another part, the part that had learned to survive by being strategic rather than emotional, started thinking clearly. Canceling the wedding would give them exactly what they wanted, to see me destroyed. Small, defeated once again. No, I had a better plan. I called a private investigator who had previously done work for the architecture firm. I asked for complete discretion and a tight deadline. I need everything on Carolina Martin's financials, relationships, everything you can get in 48 hours. He delivered on time. And what I discovered about my sister went far beyond any romantic betrayal. Carolina had siphoned 80,000 reals from our mother's small business, a decor shop she managed. Transfers, withdrawals, spending on designer clothes, trips, expensive dinners, everything documented. Everything proven. I saved every document, every screenshot, every piece of evidence and waited. The wedding day dawned with an impossibly blue sky, the kind that looked specially ordered for the occasion. 150 guests began arriving at the hotel around 4 p.m. The garden was immaculate, with white roses and lilac hydrangeas lining the path to the altar, which was set beneath a flower-covered pergola. I was in the room getting ready. The French lace dress fitted perfectly to my body, a long veil pinned into a low bun. My mother cried beside me, telling me how beautiful I looked. Carolina came in shortly after, stunning in a navy blue bridesmaid dress, flawless makeup, a smile that never reached her eyes. "You look nice," she said, but her tone carried something sharp. I walked down the hotel stairs, holding tightly onto my father's arm. The music started. Everyone stood. Ricardo was at the altar in a gray suit, looking at me with the smile I had loved for 4 years. Now it only filled me with disgust. The ceremony went on. The priest spoke about love, commitment, fidelity. The irony was almost comical. When the moment for objections came, there was a tense silence. Carolina stayed quiet, but her gaze met Ricardo's for a split second. "I now declare you husband and wife," the priest said. Applause echoed through the garden, but I didn't kiss Ricardo. I just smiled and turned for the photos. It was during the official photos that Carolina approached. She touched the hem of my dress, lifted the fabric slightly as if admiring it, and then sighed loud enough for the first 3 rows of guests to hear. That dress would look much better on me. The entire garden seemed to lose its breath at once. People exchanged glances. My mother's eyes widened. Ricardo turned pale. The photographer lowered the camera, unsure whether to capture the moment. I could have cried. I could have screamed. Instead, I picked up the microphone, prepared for the toast, looked at the 150 pairs of eyes fixed on me, and said in the calmest voice imaginable, "Since we're all here, I have an announcement to make." The silence was so absolute you could hear the wind moving through the trees. Ricardo took a step toward me, but I raised my hand, stopping him. "For the last 4 years," I began, my voice firm and clear, "I believed I was building a solid relationship. I planned this wedding with care. I trusted the people I loved most." I paused, looking directly at Carolina. But 3 days ago, I discovered that my fiancé and my sister had been having an affair for months. The garden erupted into whispers. My mother covered her mouth. Ricardo's father stood up, outraged. Carolina went white, completely frozen. "I thought you might like to see the proof," I continued, signaling to the sound technician. On the screen, prepared to show photos of the couple, screenshots began to appear, explicit messages between Carolina and Ricardo, photos of the two of them in hotels, audio messages that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. Ricardo tried to speak. "Isabella, I can explain. This isn't I cut him off. This isn't betrayal. This isn't a lie. Nation, Ricardo, I'm not finished." I turned back to Carolina, now visibly shaking. "My sister has always been jealous of me, though I never understood why. But while investigating the affair, I discovered something even worse." I signaled again. Bank documents appeared on the screen. Carolina siphoned 80,000 reals from our mother's shop. Fraudulent transfers, unauthorized withdrawals, everything to finance a lifestyle she couldn't afford. And guess where part of that money went? To the hotels she stayed at with My mother let out a muffled cry and fainted. 2 aunts rushed to help her. My father stood up, face red with rage, staring at Carolina as if he didn't recognize her. Isabella, for God's sake, Carolina finally said, her voice trembling. You didn't have to do this in front of everyone. We could have talked, I repeated, almost laughing. Like you talked to me before sleeping with my fiancé. Like you talked before stealing from our mother. Ricardo tried to approach again. Isabella, please. This got out of control. I never wanted. I took the ring off my finger and threw it at his feet. Keep it. You deserve each other. I looked at the 150 guests, some in shock, others shaking their heads in disapproval. The wedding is cancelled, but the reception will continue. Consider this a celebration of my freedom. And then, head held high, wearing the dress that fit me perfectly, I walked away from the altar. What happened after that declaration was a mix of chaos and catharsis. As Carolina fled the garden in tears, and Ricardo was confronted by his own family, many guests approached me, not with pity, but with respect. Uncles I barely knew shook my hand. Friends hugged me. You did the right thing, they said. You're stronger than we thought. The reception became something I never planned, but exactly what I needed. The food was served, the music played, and instead of a toast to the couple, I made a toast to myself, to truth, and to new beginnings. In the weeks that followed, my life turned upside down, but this time on my own terms. I filed a lawsuit against Carolina for the stolen money. My mother, after recovering from the shock, finally opened her eyes to the toxic dynamic she had created between us. She came to my apartment in Snow Paulo, cried, apologized for decades of favoritism and blindness. It wasn't easy to forgive. I still haven't fully forgiven her, but we started family therapy, set clear boundaries, and for the first time in my life, I feel that my mother sees me as Isabella, not as the daughter who silently endures everything. Carolina faced legal consequences. Part of the money was recovered, and she had to answer for her actions in court. I don't take pleasure in it, but I don't feel guilt either. Actions have consequences. Ricardo tried to contact me countless times, messages, calls, even showing up at my office once. I blocked everything. Some doors, once closed, need to stay locked forever. 6 months later, I opened my own architecture firm, small, but mine, built with the money I saved, with the reputation I earned, without depending on anyone. And for the first time, I look at my life and see something that is entirely my own. I learned that the greatest revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's refusing to carry the weight of their betrayal for one more second. It's choosing your peace over the approval of those who never truly valued you. And that's how you turn the worst day of your life into the first day of your real freedom. Because sometimes exposing the truth isn't about revenge, it's about refusing to live in the lie others built around you. If you've ever had to choose between your peace and your family's approval, share your story in the comments. Wherever you're listening to me now, I read every single one. If this story touched you in any way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose yourself. Don't go anywhere. The next recommended video will show you another story of courage you can't miss. Until next time.